Over, I'd like to point out like how closer and closer you are getting to getting probably a copyright at some point from fucking Disney, because how much Alice in Wonderland shit you want to bring into this fucking arc is looking like that. The whole talking trees and shit like that, unless you're just on acid right now, because, you know, it just looks so much like some fucking Alice in Wonderland shit. But then we've got to talk about the chapter itself of One Piece, which is just... So the Straw Hats finally leave off the crew. Brook is accompanying Pedro. They're going off on like one of the little, tiny little submarine things. Well, I think it was like Channel 3, which I'm thinking, wow, they really forgot about these things. Like, it's how long has it been since we like last used like one of these things at all at once? So they're going to go out there. Brook's going to go with him, and you know, I'm curious to see what they're going to be getting up to. But like after that, we kind of get like, you know, out of the Carrot, Chopper, Luffy, and Nami are all on the island, and it was like, oh, where's that person that we saw? Like after like just running after him, and it's like, oh, where are they gone? And when they see, it's like, oh, it's Sanji and all that. Hey, it's Sanji, and it's like, well, isn't this a little bit too... As soon as they get there, and it's just like, you know, like, oh, you disappeared. Like, why is it? And then, instead of looking at it, it's just, of course, everyone's like, hey, look, Kanji! Really? Like, really? Like, after everything, it's just like, you know, we really want to find our friend, but then watch out, guys, because there's a crocodile that's eating the eye, like, ooh, like that, and it was just like, oh, and he's just like, even the crocodile's just like, oh, you're humans. No, I don't give a fuck. And it's just like, what was the point of that? like, what was that? Was that supposed to be really comedic? Because I didn't really see the whole point of the two things. Was there was a copy Luffy out there that started saying the same things as him, that obviously is some sort of Devil Fruit user that is able to make a copy of something. And obviously that's probably the same thing with like the Sanji as well. However, I'm pretty sure people notice that the Sanji that's laying there is just like, it's got a lollipop. It's like, you know, like, I remember like some people saying like, oh, that's a joke on the 4Kids stuff. No, it's fucking not. Like, it's like, really, do you think that you give a fuck about something like stupid as minor as that? But it's like, you know, it's like the other Luffy is like a reflection, so, you know, they have like they do have differences and all that, like where the scar is at and everything. So it's like, you know, it's pretty much the only one to like guess who the real Luffy is. It's like, you got to remember, like, you know, who isn't the reflection. And same thing as well with the whole Sanji, and it's like, oh yeah, Sanji, how you doing, man? Like that, and it's just like nothing was said about him. So then the two the Luffys are fighting, and then out of nowhere it's just like, oh, there's this fucking giant guy that's just out there, or woman, I have no idea what the fuck that thing is, and it's just like, just says that, oh yeah, like, why are you doing this? And it's like, oh, your body is buried to the ground. It's like, oh, but I like it. Body is buried to the ground. It's like, oh, but I like it. Like, I feel like, you know, maybe it's just like Oda's comedy just isn't that funny to me, but it's just like, there are just points where it's just like, it's not funny. Like, it generally just isn't funny, and it's just like, can we like go back to the stuff that's kind of important instead of just some of this stupid shit that's going to go in there? And the second important part of it was like, watch out, guys. It's like Carrot was like immediately noticed that there was another minx out there that like took off like a bunch of trees' head, and we see it that it has whiskers, and I think that's like, obviously that's probably going to be one of Big Mom's people, but it's just like, it's a mink. Like, it's like, is this like the big kind of build up we was waiting for? Like, because that was pretty much the stinger of the chapter. Like, it was like, oh, there's a mink. There's a mink going around that try to go after them, and it's just like, you know. And whilst that happened and all that, we're trying to find Sanji and all that, they go next to the Seducing Woods, which is some Alice in Wonderland shit, and is really getting on the copyright fucking thing there. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't be fucking surprised if there was like, hey, Disney's kind of hitting up saying, really, you want to go on this shit like that? I'm waiting next chapter, let's see the Cheshire fucking Cat come in here. Like, let's see that. Or like, let's get fucking like, fuck it, get Mowgli in there. Get all of them. Get all Disney characters in there and just screw it. However, though, there is a break next week. That won't be a next One Piece chapter next week. And I've noticed this with One Piece. Either he leaves on a good chapter, or he leaves on a very or bad, like, no one cares chapter, and I don't care. Like, I didn't really care for this chapter, to be fair. I thought it was really kind of nothing, really. Like, there was, like, the most important things that came out of this chapter is that there's a copy of Luffy, obviously seems to be copying that Luffy himself, and that Sanji isn't real, like that, since we've all seen that he's having a lollipop, but, like, that wouldn't be Sanji, and Sanji would never act that fucking way, and that there's a mink out there that tried to take like Carrot's head and all that, and Nami's head. So my guess is like, you know, that's someone important maybe later on in the arc, and I'm just like, well, let's see that this guy's probably gonna have a tragic backstory of some, like, you know, like there's obviously there's some tragic backstory, and it's just like, how many arcs in a row have we got to see a tragic backstory coming in the way? So it's like, yeah, something's probably gonna be tragic about this, meaning that he's forced to like work with like Big Mom or something like that, like either that or like someone else on the island's got this really bad thing, or like the eating people or some shit like that. But it's like, it was a 4 to me. Like I generally just, I didn't care. Like I generally didn't. This was the one One Piece chapter where it's like, if you're saying this is a 10 out of 10 or a fucking 9, you're stupid. Like it's generally just that. Like if you liked it, like cool, but I generally like, it's not a 9. It's not a 10. It never will be. It's such a slow chapter. Like and it's just like the big payoffs that we're supposed to be getting, adding into, well, to me as well, the jokes. I didn't find the jokes funny. Like, I generally just didn't. And, if you found them funny, fine. But it's just like, that didn't add to the chapter in any way to me. But, I'm going to end it off and like, I know, I'm going to probably get fucking hate for it, and I don't care, because I'm letting my opinion out there. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie. Because guess what? People fucking deserve that and all that. They deserve hearing the truth. And I'm not going to lie to them, because they deserve that. Like, so I'm ending it there and all that. Let me know what you guys think.